This season was a season all about wide receivers. But today I was wondering who will be the best rookie wide receiver. And I go by the eight big name wide receivers this season. Henry Ruggs, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Aiyuk, T. Higgins, and Michael Pittman Jr. And to see which team will have the best rookie wide receiver. On the screen right now, you will see the time stamp point of each wide receiver, because I know that the fans of each team will watch this and the fans of rivals will watch this and determine if I was right or wrong by the time the season happens, or if there's even going to be a season. But I decided to do this by team, like alphabetical order by team, rather than the specific draft selection, due to the fact that, well, the big names went first while the lower names went later, so I decided to go by team name. Alright, everything on the way, let's begin. We first start off with Michael Pittman Jr. The Colts selected him in the second round, and I think the Colts got a steal with Michael Pittman Jr. How good do I think he's going to be? I think Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be the Juju Smith-Schuster to T.Y.'s Antonio Brown. That is how I think he will do this season. The Colts didn't really have a number 2 wide receiver. All they really had was T.Y. Hilton. Unless you guys were a Colts fan, you guys didn't know who the number 2 wide receiver was. And I feel like, due to the fact that T.Y. is a great wide receiver, I think that Michael Pittman Jr., due to the fact that safeties and cornerbacks are going to cover him, I feel like Pittman is going to have more yards than a normal rookie wide receiver would. A lot like Juju did, due to the fact that Antonio Brown was getting covered a lot. But I feel like at the same time, if T.Y.'s down, I don't think that Michael Pittman Jr. will be able to carry the team just like Juju did. Michael Pittman to me seems like Juju, the wide receiver from Pittsburgh. I think the Colts got one of the biggest steals in this draft, and after hearing everything going on with Philip Rivers, it seems like you guys are going to make the playoffs, but we don't know until it starts. Next, we go to Denver with the Denver Broncos, and oh boy, this is a very interesting pick. Jerry Jeudy with Drew Lock. Ooh. Jerry Jeudy is 100% going to be the number 1 wide receiver in Denver. Jerry Jeudy is probably the best wide receiver out of this draft. People can say it's CeeDee Lamb, but me personally, the way I see Jerry Jeudy, he is definitely the best wide receiver out of this draft. Jerry Jeudy, to me, is going to be the best wide receiver in general. Not by stat-wise. I think it could be the best wide receiver when you look. Basically, if he was put on a average team, like a 500 team, he would be the best out of the rest. He won't have the best stats like another wide receiver we will talk about later on, but I feel like Jerry Jeudy will be able to be the number 1 wide receiver Denver needs, especially with Drew Lock, who I believe will get MVP this year, knowing how the last 2 seasons a second year quarterback gets it. I believe that Drew Lock will get it. And knowing Jerry Jeudy and the routes he can do, because the routes he can do is something not the main wide receivers can do. So I see Jerry Jeudy not being the best wide receiver, but I'm seeing him as the number 2 best wide receiver in this draft. Now we're going on to Cincinnati with T. Higgins. T. Higgins was, of course, the 33rd pick out of this year's draft from the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, at first, I didn't understand why they picked T. Higgins. They have plenty of wide receivers, and Tyler Boyd, A.J. Green, John Ross, and they, of course, had free agents, tight ends, running backs, all that. Until I dug a little deep. John Ross has never played a snap of football due to the fact he keeps on getting injured. John Ross is one of the fastest wide receivers in the entire NFL's history. A.J. Green, over the past couple of years, has also been injured. So, if we're basically stating they're both going to get injured this season, T. Higgins will get more balls. Of course, he won't be the number 1 wide receiver because that will go to Tyler Boyd. But I think that T. Higgins will be an interesting wide receiver. This team will be very interesting to watch. T. Higgins, to me, is a very interesting because anything can go by him. And unlike a certain other wide receiver we'll talk about, who is in a more, let's just say, in a more difficult position, T. Higgins, if A.J. Green and John Ross are healthy, I don't think that he'll get the ball that much, which means that we can't see how well he will truly be until he goes to a different team or if wide receivers get injured. So we can't tell how well Higgins will do until he leaves Cincinnati or teammates get injured. Next up, we have Henry Ruggs III. Oh boy, this is a very interesting pick. When Henry Ruggs was selected before Jerry Jeudy, before CeeDee Lamb, everybody was interested of why. I went to Henry Ruggs' tape and I learned more about him. He was the fastest wide receiver in this draft. And he's giving me some vibe. And I realized that he's giving me some Tyreek Hill vibe, which is interesting due to the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are in the same division as the Las Vegas Raiders. And knowing the fact that Las Vegas doesn't really have a number 1 wide receiver, they have Darren Waller as a tight end. Maybe, he's a tight end, but acts more like a slot wide receiver. And then they have Josh Jacobs, who is the biggest steal of the draft last year. Even though I think that Jerry Jeudy will be the best wide receiver in general, I think that Henry Ruggs will be the best wide receiver by statistical stats, due to the fact that there's no one else. And I think that Henry Ruggs will be indeed the best wide receiver in this draft. Not because he's the best in general, but mainly because of the wide receivers that the Raiders have. And especially due to the fact that Derek Carr is probably the most underrated quarterback, aside from Matthew Stafford. I think that their chemistry is going to be a lot like Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. And if that's anything like that, if Henry Ruggs is what I think he is, which is a faster version of Tyreek Hill, defenders are going to be scared. They are going to be terrified of what this man is going to do. And I won't be surprised if this man gets Offensive Player of the Year. Or Joe Burrow, because I know how this goes. Quarterbacks usually get awards. Except for wide receivers. Now, remember when I said with T. Higgins that there's going to be a wide receiver who's going to be in a more difficult position? Yeah, that's Brandon Aiyuk. No defense of Brandon Aiyuk. I don't know that much about him, but I will say this. This wide receiver here will have to prove us something. What do I mean by that? Well, for starters, this was a team that nearly won the Super Bowl. Of course, Emmanuel Sanders is out. But, here's the thing. Deebo Samuel is injured. Brandon Aiyuk is injured. So realistically, when they both come back, Brandon Aiyuk is going to be the second wide receiver. Or hell, he might even be the number one wide receiver. Depending how Garoppolo decides to throw the ball to. If we don't count George Kittle, because George Kittle is a different type of breed. Brandon Aiyuk is going... This is going to be a break or make guy. Because if this guy fails, like if this guy has a terrible rookie season this year and next year, or has a terrible rookie contract, I don't think this guy is going to make it. I genuinely believe that. I want this guy to succeed, and I want him to be one of the better wide receivers the 49ers have. So as much as I want to be like, the 49ers got a good pick with this one, it all depends with Jimmy Garoppolo. That's really all I have to say. There's nothing that Brandon Aiyuk can do. It all depends on Jimmy Garoppolo if he's willing to do more than just throw to Kittle. Let the running backs have the ball. You know what I mean? He probably needs to throw more to the wide receivers in order for Brandon Aiyuk to actually have an effect. But if he does, then Brandon Aiyuk might be a top 5 wide receiver, top 5 rookie wide receiver this season. Next up, we have Jalen Reagor, the wide receiver that everybody thought was not going to get picked before Justin Jefferson. Jalen Reagor, hopefully I'm saying his name correctly, is a very interesting wide receiver due to the fact that he reminds me a lot like Deshaun Jackson, which the Eagles have Deshaun Jackson, but Carson Wentz is Jalen Reagor is only going to succeed if Carson Wentz can stay healthy. That's pretty much it. If he doesn't stay healthy, Jalen Reagor is going to struggle. Who they're going to bring? Jalen Hurts? No defense of Jalen Hurts. I actually believe that he's the quarterback the Chargers should have picked over Herbert. I'm generally being serious. They should have picked Hurts over Herbert, but if Carson Wentz goes out, Reagor is going to struggle. So, just like Brandon Aiyuk, it's going to be a very interesting situation. It's not in the wide receiver's control, it's going to be in the quarterback situation. Okay. I know this is going to be the most controversial one because I know the Cowboys fans are going to be mad, but please, listen to my opinion, and hopefully you can see where I'm coming from. looking at all the wide receivers, CeeDee Lamb is going to be the worst. Now, he might not be the worst, but he's definitely not going to be the best. He's going to be between middle to on the low side. Here's why. And this is not because CeeDee Lamb's terrible. No, he was considered to be the best wide receiver coming into the draft. The problem with CeeDee Lamb isn't him, it's the team he was drafted by. He was drafted by the Cowboys, a team of a new head coach, and a team with two already wide receivers. Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, who I like to mention, they both had 1,000 yards. Not combined. Oh, no. They both had 1,000 yards, both to their name. And that's not even us counting Ezekiel Elliott. Plus, they were the number one offensive team last season. They didn't even make the playoffs. I don't think that CeeDee Lamb is going to help, but the only way this is going to work is if the head coach. So as much as I want to say CeeDee Lamb is going to be so good, I don't see CeeDee Lamb being good. Well, not good, but not going to have the chance to be good unless Amari or Gallup gets injured or he gets traded. And plus, we all know he only got selected to the Cowboys because, well, the Eagles were gonna pick CeeDee Lamb if they didn't. So, and plus, he could have been the next Randy Moss. So who knows, right? All right, Justin Jefferson. This is a very interesting pick because since we're on the topic of the Cowboys getting 1,000 yards, I think that Justin Jefferson is going to get not 1,000 yards, but is going to be close. Adam Thielen will 100% get 1,000 yards. I actually believe that the Vikings will make the playoffs. I actually believe that Kirk Cousins is going to win in primetime games, which I know it's difficult for people to actually believe that, but this is a new Kirk Cousins. After all, he did state, "If I die, I die." From a quote from coronavirus, but I think that Justin Jefferson will be well, I think he will be in the top 3 for best rookie wide receivers this season. I genuinely do believe that. It's going to be Ruggs, Judy, Jefferson. That's the way I believe it's gonna go. And Vikings fans, you shouldn't get mad. You should be proud that the Eagles decided to get a younger version of Deshaun Jackson because, oh boy, you guys got lucky with this pick. I believe that you guys will beat the Cowboys and get 2,000 yards from both wide receivers. Well, Adam Thielen, 1,000 yards. Justin Jefferson, 1,000 yards. Together, 2,000. The only difference is you guys are going to make the playoffs and not be 8-8. That's just my opinion. So, I hope you guys enjoyed my bold predictions for how each rookie wide receiver will do. And if you guys watched all of it, you would realize that Ruggs, number 1, Judy, number 2, and then Justin Jefferson for number 3. If you guys don't agree with me, then put in the comments down below. What is your top 3 rookie wide receivers this year? Alright? Don't say that my opinion is wrong. If you don't agree with it, put it down in your list. Okay?